Hello, guys. Welcome back to Faith Movies. Today's movie recap will be a thriller and action movie from 2011 called The Encounter. Warning, there are spoilers ahead. The film opens with a young girl named Kayla walking along a dark road carrying her bag. She looks exhausted and seems to have been walking for a long time. Suddenly, she spots a speeding car and attempts to flag down the driver. The driver, named Nick, is distracted by his phone while searching for a signal and nearly hits Kayla. As Nick and Kayla recover from the near miss, we meet a couple, Hank and Catherine, driving on the same road. They appear to be arguing. Catherine wants a break from Hank, who is desperate to make amends. Hank hears a voice instructing him to pick up Kayla, but Catherine disagrees. Hank is disappointed for not helping Kayla, while Catherine remains indifferent. Kayla is upset that no one is stopping to give her a ride, but she continues down the lonely road despite an approaching storm. Then we see another car driven by Melissa, who hears a voice telling her to pick up Kayla. She immediately stops, invites Kayla inside, and they drive off, getting to know each other. Next, we're introduced to a place called the Last Chance Diner. Melissa spots it and suggests stopping for a bit, but Kayla prefers to keep driving. Soon we see Nick, who almost hit Kayla earlier, speaking with Officer DeVille, who mentions a flood warning and road closure. The couple's car soon arrives, followed by Melissa and Kayla. Everyone leaves their cars as Melissa mentions the diner she saw earlier. The officer claims it's been closed for a while, but Melissa is sure it was open. They all agree to go back and check if the diner exists. As Melissa said, the diner is open and they all enter as it pours outside. As they call out for someone, a man named Jesus unexpectedly appears at the counter, surprising everyone. He invites them to sit anywhere. When Melissa mentions the officer's claim that the diner was closed, Jesus explains that the officer doesn't want people visiting the diner due to a personal grudge. Jesus then offers water to Melissa and Kayla while Nick arrives and asks for a phone. However, the phone doesn't work, probably because of the storm. Jesus mentions that he only serves water, which Melissa finds delicious. Reading the newspaper's obituary section, Nick hears Jesus warn that Nick could be listed there tomorrow based on his choices. Surprisingly, Jesus calls out everyone's favorite dishes and names them accurately. Hank is shocked to hear his name and asks Jesus how he knows it. Jesus simply states that he is Jesus and knows everything about them. Upon hearing this, Catherine becomes angry and insists they leave the diner immediately. While Hank is reluctant, Nick offers Catherine a ride and they leave together. This leaves Hank feeling upset as his wife leaves with another man in the middle of the night. However, Jesus reassures him that she will return and tells Hank he can save his marriage if he asks for help, which Hank does humbly. We also find out that Melissa is on her way to meet her fiancé, Paul, who she hopes will propose to her. Jesus confirms the proposal will happen, which excites Melissa, but he hints at having greater plans for her beyond the proposal. When Nick and Catherine try to leave, their car won't start, forcing them back into the diner. Jesus then talks to Nick about his success and offers him eternal riches that won't be lost like those in the stock market. However, Nick dismisses the offer and walks away. Meanwhile, Melissa, asking for more bread, is surprised to see the bowl refill itself. When she questions Jesus, he simply tells her he is Jesus. Melissa, overwhelmed, suggests to Kayla that they talk in the restroom. In the restroom, Melissa expresses how strange the situation feels, almost like a dream. Kayla, enjoying the free food and shelter, tells Melissa she can leave if she finds the man strange, but she chooses to stay. Jesus continues his conversation with Nick, reminding him of his parents' contentment with little and his grandmother's prayers for him to know Jesus. Nick, though listening, questions Jesus about the storm and why it prevented them from reaching their destination. Jesus explains that he used the storm to bring them together for a personal encounter. In another scene, Catherine challenges Jesus to tell her something unique about herself. Jesus reveals that she doesn't want to leave her husband, she's just searching for something different. He also points out that he initially told Hank to pick up Kayla, but Catherine objected, so he then instructed Melissa, who agreed. Shocked by the revelation, Melissa understands it was Jesus who influenced her decision. Jesus then warns Hank that he can't save his marriage by always putting his wife's desires above what Jesus wants. This infuriates Catherine, who sarcastically suggests that Hank and Jesus should marry each other and leave her out of it. Jesus also confronts Catherine about her lack of true faith despite her church attendance and role as a Sunday school teacher, which angers her. She storms off to the restroom, followed by Melissa, who tries to persuade her to listen to Jesus as he might be able to save their marriage. In the next scene, Jesus talks to Nick about a past incident when he was 14 and almost died while diving with friends. Although Nick broke his hand, Jesus prevented him from hitting his head on a rock. Kayla enters the conversation and questions why Jesus had to break Nick's hand to save him. Jesus explains he did it to protect Nick, just as she had recently saved someone. Surprised, Kayla walks away. Nick, still defiant, confronts Jesus about why a drunk driver killed his father, who was a devout believer, and why Jesus commanded the Israelites to kill the Canaanites, including women and children. Jesus responds by saying he is holy and that sin will always be punished. He expresses his desire for Nick to join his father in the splendor of heaven, but Nick shows no interest in the offer. Melissa interrupts, asking about the magnificence of heaven. Jesus tells her that heaven's beauty is beyond human description and assures her that she will one day walk with him on heavenly golden paths. Curious, Nick asks if he could also walk these paths, and Jesus tells him the choice is his to make. Jesus then asks Melissa to share her experience of meeting him on her 17th birthday. Melissa tells how she almost ended her life after a breakup but was saved by a friend's timely invitation to a movie where a call to surrender to Jesus changed her life. Jesus advises Melissa against marrying Paul, who does not share her faith, and shows her what their future would look like if they married. Nick interrupts, criticizing the path Jesus is recommending as not good enough. Melissa, supported by Hank and Kayla, tells Nick he is upsetting everyone, but Nick dismisses them, and Jesus continues to encourage him to embrace faith. Jesus warns him about the eternal torment of hell, contrasting it with earthly troubles. During a meal, Jesus serves perfect-tasting food to Hank and Catherine, rekindling their affection. Melissa and Kayla also enjoy their meals, but when Jesus serves Nick, he refuses to eat, claiming he won't be brainwashed like he believes the others are, and leaves for the restroom. In another scene, Kayla shares her difficult past, revealing a life of homelessness and struggle that led her to consider suicide. Jesus encourages her to return to LA, report her abusive stepfather, and forgive those who hurt her. She agrees. Nick returns from the bathroom, accusing Jesus of exploiting Kayla's emotional vulnerability and declares his independence from the need for Jesus. He continues to brag about his success, but Jesus reminds him of his humble beginnings and how he changed after mixing with affluent students. Frustrated, Nick confronts Jesus aggressively, but Jesus calmly offers him a recipe his grandmother used to make. Nick suddenly recalls a memory of his grandmother giving him a cake and asking him to pray. He accuses Jesus of using these old memories to make him feel guilty for not making the right choices. Despite this, Jesus continues to urge Nick to open his heart and accept him. Nick, however, remains stubborn and insists he's fine on his own. Their conversation is interrupted when Officer DeVille enters the diner and falsely claims that the road is clear and everyone can leave. Jesus warns that this isn't true, but Nick decides to follow Officer DeVille anyway. As Jesus describes himself as the Good Shepherd, the scene shifts to show Nick driving carelessly behind the officer's car. Back at the diner, Jesus advises Melissa to take Kayla to Los Angeles and reassures Kayla that he will always be there for her. He also encourages Hank to continue loving and praying for his wife, Catherine. He concludes by telling everyone that he loves them, and they leave the diner. In a subsequent scene, they are stopped by a cop who informs them of a terrible accident that instantly kills the driver. Upon asking, they find out that the driver was Nick, who had just left the diner with them. When they mention the diner they visited, the cop reveals that he has patrolled that road for years and insists no diner exists there. Melissa and Kayla decide to continue their journey, while Hank and Catherine return to where they remembered the diner was, only to find nothing there. However, Catherine talks to Jesus, expressing her feelings, which brings her relief and leads to a tender moment with her husband. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe. Your support is appreciated. Remember, Jesus loves you. Have a blessed day, and see you next time.